Hello all. Before we start, I just wanted to go over a few things. So before you start, I just want you to find out what your budget is. I don't need to know. You just need to write it down somewhere so that you know your research is focused. You are focusing on what exactly are you looking for. Now, when you do the research, you'll find, okay, 2 for example, in Melbourne is supposed to be the best suburb, but can I afford it? No, I can't afford it, and I wouldn't want to be in an owner-occupied market. Which is exclusively owner occupied, for example, predominantly. So you got to find out what your budget is, and according to that budget, because once you write that figure down, and as we go through different data, and we dig into more details about each suburb, you'll know what kind of suburb actually fits your criteria. So write that down. The only prerequisite for this course for you to is basically to make sure that you have a pen and a notebook. And in most cases, I've used an example from Victoria, but it is not limited to Victoria. Where possible, I have tried to give you relevant websites for that state, for different states, and I've used Victoria because I am from Victoria, although I've got a development going on in Brisbane, and I've got some developments going on in Melbourne, and I keep shuttling over. So I've tried to use I've tried to give you different websites for different states, and I've also try to accommodate various states as much as I can, but they would be different. Your authority websites for different states would be different, so you'll have to take a call on that. So let's have a look. Let's move forward to listening for signals. Okay, listening for signals. How do we listen for signals? Signals are basically the hot tips that you get. For example, you might hear something in the media. You might hear your other property investor friends talking about it. You might go to a network meeting, and you find out that XYZ suburbs actually coming up. That's pretty hot. That's where I need to be. Yeah, all that is fine. But how good is the guy? How good is your friend who just told you that XYZ suburb needs to be? How good is that tip? So you got to come back and do your own research, and that's what we do on internet as well. We find out, we check out news websites, we check out property websites, we check out authority websites. For example, let's look at REIV website. This is a really good website I use every now and then. Um, and there is also an REIV, there's which is for Victoria. There's also an REI New South Wales, and I've got. If you have a look here, I've actually got these details. Don't worry about writing them down because at the end of the course, they're actually all included. You'll get a PDF file with all these links so you can create your own bookmarks for it. And I'll see if I can actually create a bookmark and just insert it in there. So you just download it and you import it in your own bookmarks. So that way you've got them there too. So I've got REIV, REIQ, which is for Queensland. So all these. So let's look at this website. This website's got this median price, growth suburbs, and it tells me what are the suburbs that are really doing well. Now REIV is the Real Estate Institute of Victoria, so the whole data is actually dependent upon the data input that this site receives from all the agents in Victoria. I'm not saying that it's not accurate, I'm just saying that it can be skewed as well, because agents are known to skew the prices that they report just so to keep an artificial demand in an area. Well, don't take my word for it, do your own research. But I look at this site as a guide and not a definite source. So let's have a look at this. So it's got all the suburbs, Kew, Brighton, Sorrento, Epping, Baldwin, and it's got the median value here. It's got the median value in 2013, and you can see that first it was 597, and I say median value. I discussed median value earlier on in the course. That's why you need to look at the median value. and not the average value. So that's what it does, and it talks about units here, and then it tells you which ones have gone up, which ones haven't gone up. So this is actually quite good. It gives you a snapshot, but have a look at the median value. Is this median value in your budget? So if your budget, you can afford to spend 600,000, then you could go to Ringwood, right? I've got a project going on in Ringwood, and Ringwood is a good suburb. Ringwood's got a lot of infrastructure development going on at the moment, and that's where you start. But have a look at this website. They've got house price maps, which is really good because they've got some sort of a heat mapping system happening here. Suburbs that are less than 400k and all these different suburbs. So you can have a look at these sites, and but if I go back and have a look at these suburbs, they give me a guideline, but they never actually give me the actual suburbs I want to zero in on. So say for example, you've got Baronia, and I'll give you. So if say for example I wanted to get into Baronia, there are ways that I will. There are other things that I will look into for Baronia. There are so many different factors that I would look into, and not just go because it came in the top 20 growth suburbs. So that's what this is. This is a good website if you're in Victoria, and I'm pretty sure if it's in Victoria, then you would have a similar site. You already have a similar site in for Queensland and New South Wales, and that's where. And these are authority websites because they all the agents report to them. So you would assume that their data and what they are saying would have some weightage to it. So have a look at this site, play around with it. It also has a section which talks about market history, goes back 1966, and then it talks about market history of Melbourne. So you've got median price and annual growth and all that, and you look at it and you go back when the GFC hit, and you can see that it was up 11.11, and suddenly in 2009 after the GFC hit, the growth was negative 1.78. So this tells me that there was growth at the time, and it doesn't tell me a lot. The reason is Melbourne's quite big, and looking at Melbourne as a whole is actually quite stupid, especially when you're actually looking for a deal in a particular suburb. So what the median value or the average growth of the entire Melbourne would be skewed because they are looking at all different kind of suburbs, and where Toorak must be, for example, Toorak must be performing really well, and there could be Pakenham, for example, wasn't doing that well in during that time. So that doesn't give you a good measure. In Melbourne, it's different. There are different pockets. So you got to understand which pocket is doing well and why is it doing well, and you got to look into different factors.